Welcome to From Season 3, Episode 2, Recap, Analysis, and Clues, and you are watching Recap God. We'll go through the flowchart just like the last video. Let's look at what's happening in Tabitha's life in the outside world. She wakes up and finds Victor's dad, Henry, holding a gun. He asks her about the lunchbox, and she tries to explain, but obviously he doesn't understand. He tells her he has already called the police. Tabitha knows the police won't believe them and will think she's either responsible for the disappearance of her family or that she's gone insane. She tries to convince Henry that she's telling the truth by showing him articles about her family gone missing. But he's still confused. Then he asks, if no one can escape that place, how is she outside? She explains about the lighthouse and the boy. Something strikes Henry's mind, but then the police arrive. He sends them away saying it was a mistake. He tells her that he bought the gun 40 years ago, a few years after his family disappeared. Now we have a clue. The dates written on the cave walls mentioned the year 1978, and if we calculate, that was almost 46 years ago from today. So, there's a possibility that this was the year Victor and his mother and sister ended up in Fromville. Henry tells her that his wife Miranda started hearing voices and seeing strange things. It all began when he and Miranda were on a trip. She told him there were children locked in a tower, and she had to free them. He also tells Tabitha that he believes her now, but it's still confusing. He shows her the basement, where Miranda had drawn everything she used to see. This included pictures of faraway trees, a boy and a girl, the diner, the lighthouse, a man, a war soldier, caves, the motel, a talisman, and some other strange drawings. Miranda had also told Henry that there was no way to leave the place. The place she was describing is clearly Fromville. She told him that she knew she wasn't the only one chosen. There were others before her, chosen to free the children from the tower, but they all failed. Henry concludes that since Tabitha is seeing these things now, she is most likely the new chosen one. Now, if we analyze this, we can assume that the dates mentioned in the cave are the years when the people who were supposed to free the children arrived in Fromville. This is probably the same year Miranda ended up there, but it's still not confirmed. Just a guess for now. We will now look at what's happening with Jim and Kenny. We see that Jim finds cabbage and potatoes just outside the huts, and there is also a lake. There's a lot of food, and they are very happy. They decide to go back to town to tell everyone the good news. Now, this is just a theory, but there is a possibility that there are actually two people working behind the scenes, one good and one bad. Someone wants to kill these people, and someone wants to save them. That's why there's a constant supply of food. Cattle keep coming from the forest because the good one wants them to have food, and creatures keep coming because the bad one wants them dead. Or it might be something completely different. But this is the only idea I could come up with. Back in town, we see that Tian-Chen is dead, confirmed. Sarah tells Christy about it, and everyone in town is really sad. Jade asks Boyd how he's still alive since he was with Tian-Chen when those creatures appeared. Boyd tells him that the creatures wanted him to watch, that they had planned it. They had opened the door and waited because they knew he would come. Donna comes and asks Boyd if it's true, referring to Tian-Chen's death, and Boyd confirms it. Boyd tries to explain everything to Donna, and Donna asks if it was worth it, if it was worth risking everyone's lives to save the cattle. Boyd tries to explain that it was their only resource, and without it, they would starve. But Donna argues, saying the only resource they have is themselves. Later, she understands and admits that Boyd had to do it. She becomes the first woman on the planet to accept that the other person was right. Just kidding. Not because there were other women before her to accept it, but because the show is fictional. If you are a woman watching it, you can still be the first. Just kidding. Donna starts cursing herself. Now we see that Fatima is vomiting, and she realizes that one of her teeth has fallen out. Christy tries to motivate Boyd. Marielle tells Fatima that she is heavily malnourished, and it's a wonder that only one tooth has fallen out. Then, we see Kenny and Jim return to town. They are so happy, telling everyone with joy that they've found food and that they won't starve anymore. But seeing everyone's reaction, they realize something is wrong. Kenny breaks down when he finds out about his mom. Later, when he's at the diner, the radio starts playing a song, an inappropriate one at the moment. The song is Celebrate Good Times. Seeing this, Kenny loses his temper and breaks the radio. Julie tells Jim that Ethan almost died yesterday and that he should have stayed with them instead of wandering in the forest. She tells him they can't afford to lose both their parents. We also see that the girl who was rude to Fatima in the last episode apologizes for her behavior. I think the showrunners want to convey that death brings people together. After what happened yesterday, everyone is very sad, and they don't know who will be next. So, They don't want to hold any grudges before something bad happens. Then we see something weird. Fatima likes the smell of the poisoned, rotten food. She tries to eat it and, surprisingly, loves the taste so much that she eats a lot of it. Will it be good for the baby? Who knows? Kenny tells Boyd that he is going to the tunnels to burn every one of the creatures. Surprisingly, Boyd accepts the plan and says he will go with him. When they are outside the cave, Boyd mentions that it's dark in the tunnel, and maybe that's what the creatures want. If they encounter the creatures, there's a high chance they won't make it back alive. Boyd tells Kenny Tian-Chen's last words in Cantonese. Kenny translates, saying she told Boyd to take care of him. Both, reflecting on their decision, agree not to go to the tunnel and return to town. We then see people mourning in the church. Boyd tells Ellis that they can't always play defensively, and now they have to go on the offensive. Tomorrow, they plan to capture one of the creatures to gather more information. The episode ends with Jim going to drink water when the telephone rings. When he picks it up, he hears a child's voice saying, "Dad, it's Thomas." Yes, the child who is dead. My analysis is that the creatures are most likely trying to torment Jim. They know the group's weaknesses and are targeting them at their most vulnerable points. The creatures are intelligent,